Okay. Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I hope this is the right color. Hold on. Let me yeah. So hi everyone. Welcome to the soldering workshop. I'm gonna be your host today. AKA I'm gonna tell you everything about soldering, and then you guys are gonna go in the lab and play with those kits and solder yourself. So who here never soldered? All right, first time. Don't be afraid. We're gonna go over a lot of like tips and tricks and stuff like that. And I think from my experience, my first time soldering, like actually soldering on a board, is in the workshop as well. And one of the leads, or like one of the person that was like walking around, was like, oh my God, your soldering skills are so questionable because I did it really bad. And I'll show you why, like what kind of soldering I did, and it'll tell you why it was bad. And you guys will understand, and you're gonna be like, oh, okay, I won't do that. After that experience, I got a little better at it. And then Dr. Yu says I'm like a goat at soldering now. So one soldering workshop can make you a goat, guys. All right. So some guides to soldering. Okay, so there's 3 types of soldering methods that you could do. So you guys are inside. I don't know if you guys want to open your box, or if you guys even looked at it, but the boards that you guys have look green, right? And they have through holes. Through holes are components that you stick through the board, right? There's a hole in it, you stick through the board, and then you solder it like through the hole, right? That's why it's called through hole. There's SMD components, which stands for surface mount something. Surface mount like component or something. And which means that those parts are gonna be not through holes. It's gonna be, there's gonna be two metal pieces on, or depending on how many pins you have, let's say like the capacitor, you have 2 metal plates on only the top surface, and you solder only the top, right? And then there's the wire soldering, which is basically you get 2 wires or 2 plus wires, and you want to connect them together. You would like twist it together, and then you put the solder onto it. So those are the 3 types of soldering. So this is the different soldering connections on a through hole, right? So as you can see, they're gonna show you which one is a good soldering connection and which one's bad. You can tell that these are called cold soldering, which means that if they dry, and let's say in, I don't know, like a week, you come back, I can literally like tap it or flick it and it will fall off because the soldering connection is not that strong, right? It's a cold joint, meaning that it will like, once it dries, it can like fall off easily, right? And so you can tell that this one is a bad connection, right? Because it's not really connected all the way compared to like these 2, right? You want that like Hershey's Kiss type of peak, like the little mountain tip, right? You don't want balls. Balls are bad. And this is what I did, but when I was in, like 2 years ago, I did a lot of these balls, and yeah, that just means that it's too much solder and it's not that good for conductivity, right? So why are these ones bad? Yeah, well, it's not connected and it will easily break off after a few days. And these are bad because they're too much solder, right? So these 2 are the really good Hershey's Kisses. Remember, the whole goal of tonight is Hershey's Kisses, okay? right? This is a more like a graphical explanation now, that you can tell. So this is the Hershey's Kiss that we want, right? What is wrong with A? The pads aren't even touching. It's connected to the wire, but the board is where it's sending all of its like connections, all the data, right? So A is bad because it's not even touching the board, right? B is bad because that looks like the little mountain, the little ball, right? What's up? Okay. It looks like the big ball. There's too much solder on there. See, that just looks like it's not even connecting, right? It's very similar to A, but in this case, I don't even know how that happened. But okay, cool. This is really easy to fix though, because all you gotta do is put the hot iron onto, like, tap it, and it should melt the rest. So solder, the good thing about solder is that it's like it works best with each other. So like if you have these two that are parted away, right? If you get one of them hot and this one somehow is touching this, it will melt the whole entire thing. It's like water, right? So it's pretty cool. And then why is D and E bad? Yeah, they're connected, right? So what if this is a plus and this is a minus? You made a short, right? More cold joints. So these are cold joints, right? Or this one's a cold joint. So this one's ugly. It's not smooth, like, you know, when we solder, we discriminate. All right, guys? So we want to have the nice, pretty Hershey's Kiss top. This is bad again because this one can literally fall off. There are so many times where I saw a lot of soldering connections when I went in my projects and stuff, and people solder it not that pretty, like this way, and all the components are like wanting to fly out after like a week. So to fix this, all you got to do is get the soldered iron tip and just touch it. Once you touch it, it's gonna like melt and it's gonna be really nice. I could like explain to you like all this, but I know you guys won't really see it until you go in the lab. So once you go in the lab, you'll kind of see what I mean by like touching the tip and it, like melting like water, right? So these are the soldering irons. So this is a big boy solder, like kids. And this one is the one a lot of beginners use. So my first soldering kit was this one. And I guess this one is like this. Yeah, this one's nicer. But this is like the same one that you're gonna get today. Most of the kits you're gonna get is from here, right? And what is the difference between these two? One of the main difference is the soldering, like the solder that you get. So this thing, right? There are good solder. There's good solder and there's bad solder. So a bad solder would be solder that is like, it takes a lot of heat to melt, right? So for example, these irons only can go up to 450 Celsius. But a lot of the iron or the solder that you get from these kits, you need around 500 Celsius. So I remember when I was using it, the top of the tip is where you want to like solder, right? But I would have to melt it on like this part because it wasn't melting at all. So yeah, try to, this is like $10 and this is like $30, but if you just want to learn and have fun, this kit is pretty good, I would say. So, and that's the one you're going to use today. So yeah. All right. All right, now we're talking about the solder. So this solder is great. Why? Because this is the lead, like the 60-40 lead flux, which means that, so for example, I don't know if this is the, yeah, I don't, oh yeah, this is. So in the solder, in a normal solder, like in the bad kits I was telling you, the whole like circumference, the whole area of the solder is full solder. So it's full lead and everything, right? In one of these, they have flux, and what flux does is it oxidizes all of the soldering. So it takes all the air bubbles out. And it makes soldering a lot easier, and it makes it super easy to also melt, right? So when you guys go in the lab, it will be really easy to melt these solder just because it has the flux. And let's say you don't have flux, you don't have this type of solder. What can you do? You can also use the one that they gave you, but you just have to apply a small bit of flux, and it's like a paste, right? And it will do the same thing, but why not just make it 2-in-1, you know? So yeah. Oh, and solder. So this is, if I'm touching it right now, which you probably shouldn't do that much, but solder, you know, lead can kill you, right? So lead is dangerous and toxic. So if I'm touching this and I go to lick my fingers, or if I eat, you know, anything, you know, that's very dangerous, right? So to protect yourself, if you're gonna touch the solder today, please wash your hands afterwards. Even washing your hands 30 seconds, right? It will still save you a lot. And it's not like, oh, wash my hands, wash my hands. You can touch it for like 10 minutes, 10 to like 30 minutes. It's like totally fine. Just remember to wash your hands and don't put your hands in your mouth. Yeah. And don't eat. All right. All right. So the exhaust. When you get the solder iron and you have the solder and you're going to melt like this, you're going to see fumes. There's going to be smoke in the air. And a lot of us joke that the fumes are safe and they're, you know, you should inhale it, but it's like an engineering joke, right? So you don't want to do that. You don't want to inhale all of this fumes. It's not toxic. It's more toxic to touch this lead and put it in your mouth. The only thing it does is like you get like foggy nose, clogged nose, or like, you know, foggy, like your eyesight's a little foggy. So it's more of like, it's not dangerous, but you know, you don't want to ruin your health more than us engineers, you know, go through, right? So this is a box exhaust fan. They're like $30, right? They're used for indoor. So when you don't have like a window in your lab room or stuff, it's really good to use these. But today you won't be using them because I think the lab rooms do have like an exhaust somehow in there, right? So you should be fine. Another way to protect yourself from these fumes is to just wear a mask. So today, if you guys, you know, feel like you guys are inhaling too much, you can always wear a mask, you know, the free mask on the side of the wall and everything. Just like grab one and wear it just to protect yourself, right? Another way to ventilate is also by like opening the door or opening the window, stuff like that. So those are different ways. Right. So this is a thinning tip. So I really like this thing because before you even do any soldering today, you're gonna turn on the iron and you're gonna have to clean the tip. If the tip isn't clean, all your conductivity is like really weak, right? You won't be able to melt as much thing. It's basically like going to a party when you're dirty, you know, like it doesn't work very well. Like nobody wants to hang out with you because you know, you're not smelling the best and stuff like that. So same thing, you want to keep the tip clean. You only want to use this tool maybe like once or twice. You can think of this tip as like the solder iron's like bleach. You don't want to use it all the time, but you want to use it just sometimes to clean it off. So typically I use it the first time I turn it on, I just melt it in there and then wipe it off. And then maybe like when it gets like when I'm doing it for like maybe an hour or two, it starts getting dull again. So I use it again, okay? Solder sponge. So I didn't bring one today, but you'll get in the lab. These are very important because when these solder are like kind of raggedy, right? If you use a sponge, it does help get it off. But these sponges, like the soft sponge, but these like hard sponges are really nice because you're like scraping off the tip, right? You're taking all that metal off it. So you will also have a few of these, I believe, in the lab. And most of the time it does come with the kit, and that's, you know, so you don't have to really buy it if you buy one of those kits. And yeah, like I said, the household sponge or the soft sponge. I like these ones better than the soft sponge, but you know, they all work. Yeah, see, high tier. The metal ones are high tier. So I feel like there's more regular sponge than hard sponge, but you can like test it out in the lab or whatever, right? So this is what I was saying about the flux. So this is the flux right here. This is like the paste one. I didn't even know. I've never used like the pen ones. And I think the pen ones are a little bit more expensive because, you know, they're nicer, you know, protect yourself a little more. But all you have to do is really take, let's say this is the board, right? You take a little bit, put it on, and then you take your solder and you just solder normally. And it makes it 10 times easier because I don't know what the chemistry or, you know, behind it, but it just melts it super easily, right? I don't know if we have some in the lab, but just by using these ones, these are already like 40% flux in it. So you guys should be able to melt it pretty well, right? All right. So desoldering tools. So what happens if you mess up when you solder? Are you gonna put more? You're gonna, you know, how do you take solder out? So this tool right here is like, this is the desoldering wick, so which is this one, right? So what you're gonna do, how it works is if you get this hot while you're soldering, you just touch like this, like the iron onto the top and just like move it around onto where the solder is, the extra solder that you have, and it will magically stick onto this rather than the board, right? But I don't like using this because this is lame. I like to use this tool right here. It's like a sucker, right? So all you have to do is touch the iron, and then you're gonna push down here. So you're gonna push, and then once you know are ready, there's a button that you have to press, and it will suck it up. It's like it's kind of cool. I'll help anyone who wants to try this in the lab because I think it's pretty cool. And you're like sucking up. It's like a vacuum for the solder iron. I don't know how it works, but it's pretty cool, right? So don't feel like you have to make it perfect. You can make mistakes and you can fix it, right? Okay, helping hands. So what are helping hands? Basically, helping hands, like, you know, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna use my hands, right? But instead of a person, they're like little stands that you can have. And you will have this in the lab today. You can put the boards on here and you can like solder like nicely. Normally, for these kits, you can just put it onto the table and you could solder it really easily. But when it gets to like complex, especially for like wires, like the wire soldering that I was talking about, if you connect two, you know, one wire here, and you twist it, it's really easy to just solder onto using these helping hands, right? And which helping hand is better? Can you tell? Top, right. This one? So this one is not that good because that like magnifying glass is super heavy and it typically falls over a lot of the time. This one is a whole nice base, right? And it's very important to have a nice base because if you're soldering and it just tips over, it's like you're not helping hand, you're a messing hand, you know? So yeah. You will have these ones though, and you can see how questionable they are, but you can use it. So heat gun. This goes on to more about the wire soldering, right? So this is a heat gun. All it does is it provides heat and it looks like a gun. So you're holding it like a gun and you're shooting at a specific area, right? And then a heat sink is basically, it's a tube, right? It's like one of these insulators, right? And once you apply heat to it, it shrinks. Right? Heat shrinks. See? Yeah, right? So it's good when you have two wires together and you just soldered it. You can apply a heat shrink on it, and then it looks like, you know, there's like no, you can't touch it or anything. It's like covered and protected, right? Okay, soldering safety. This is very important because, you know, we don't want to get sued or anything, right? Let's get through all of this. Okay. So first of all, we have to wear the appropriate attire. Meaning, you know, closed shoes. Look at everyone's toes right now, but I think everyone has closed shoes, so you guys are good. And then we don't discriminate now, so boys and girls will have to put their hair up, right? So if you don't have your hair up, I think we have hair ties, but if not, yeah, right? And then I think most of the guys here have short hair, so you guys are fine. Yeah. And then when you solder, it's not going to be a nice, like, it's just going to touch on the board. It's going to fling out like different particles. And I think one time it flew on my finger and I was dying. It burnt so bad. So please be careful with that, right? It won't last for that long, and you can like scrape it off afterwards, but you know, you don't want to just watch out for it anyways. So even if this solder is hot, is what I'm assuming, and I'm always gonna assume it's hot, even if it's not plugged in. Just like if I had this and I plugged it in for, I don't know, like 10 minutes, and I unplug it, right? You didn't know, and you just came back and you saw it unplugged. This thing is still really hot. It's still like piping hot. So you kind of always want to assume that this iron is hot, because you don't want to just, this is a 450 Celsius. That's gonna burn your hand and burn a lot of things. So just be careful, you know, you don't want to touch the iron. So yeah. And then, yeah, this one, remember how I said you want to always clean your tip of your iron before you use it, because you want strong conductivity. Oh, yep. And assume your iron is hot at all times. So no matter when it is, you know, your iron, other people's irons, you know, just assume it's hot, because it's just for safety purposes, right? So what is wrong with this picture? Yeah. Okay, so this is a stock photo, right? You can tell that these people are not, yeah. Someone, if you want to try that, go ahead. I'm not, yeah, not on me. But yeah, I think everything else is fine. She has her hair up, you know, she's wearing safety goggles, that's good. How does she have all of that but is holding it by the iron? I don't get it. Okay. Oh. All right. So more. Okay. So always please. Okay. So there's so I'm not gonna, when you guys solder, you guys aren't just gonna leave the iron like this, even though it's not really touching. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's still, you know, we're gonna give you holders, and it's gonna be sticking in here like this. And it's gonna be sitting in this nice folder when you guys go in the lab. So you guys don't have to worry about like placing it down like this, right? Allowing some slack on the power cord. That means that you don't want it to like be like this. Like you don't want to have it like this, right? Obviously, you know, just extend it all out and just use it as your fullest, you know. Don't be afraid of letting it roam free. Turning off your device when you're not using them for a long time, which is actually really important. This goes along with like if somebody else wants to use your iron, or if, you know, for the safety, you want to turn, if you're gonna just, you know, go to the restroom, for example, right? You don't want to keep that iron on, because somebody might be like, oh, you know, like, I don't think this iron's on, or I don't know, some crazy coincidence, and they like burn themselves. That's kind of, you know, still your responsibility, because it's your iron at that station. right? And you don't also at the same time, let's say if you're on your phone, you're done or something, or you're, waiting for more parts, right? And you're on your phone and you accidentally like hit the solder, like you're gonna burn yourself, right? So it's just for safety purposes, right? Another thing is ventilation. You don't really want to inhale it. Again, it doesn't really cause an issue, but you don't really want to inhale it and breathe it. It's like the same with smoking. You don't really want to inhale random stuff, right? So you don't really want to inhale this as well. And then Blinky Learner. Oh, so all these kits right here are from the Blinky Learner. So this is Blinky Learner 1, and then this is 2, 3, and today you guys are doing 4. But for this case, I decided to use more buttons than LED lights. So this really doesn't apply to you, but I can show you how bright it is. Like it's bright, right? So you don't want to like stare at it. And I don't know if you guys were here last semester, this one, I was dying because it spins in circles like forever and ever until you like turn it off. So it's basically looking at this, but like it's spinning like this for a very long time. And this one's out of battery, so it's not that bright, but yeah. Right? Okay. So today is Blinky Learner 4. This is, you guys know Chris Lai? Chris Lai. So Chris Lai is the one that made my circuit a little nicer because mine was kind of questionable, but he used let's see, this microcontroller. When you think of microcontroller, you probably think of like an Arduino or something, right? So this microcontroller is an AT-tiny, and you flash the microcontroller before you put it on the board. So he did that for everyone already. So you guys don't really have to do that. Yeah. Okay. And this is the PCB that I put together for the workshop. As you can tell, it's more of a piano, right? I don't know if you guys see the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, but it's gonna be playing music for you. And then you can, if you guys like piano, you guys can make your own song or whatever with it, right? It's pretty cool, pretty dope, I would say. So I hope you guys like it. And so what comes in the kit? You have all the PCB components. So like all of this that you see on here, you will see on there. You will also get a 9-volt battery. You'll also get a 9-volt battery and the connector. So the 9-volt battery is gonna be like hidden in like this thing, and this is the connector, right? And then you also get a 3D printed case. I think you guys gotta choose your colors, right? Which color you like. And you also get screws, obviously, to screw the board down because you don't want this happening, right? And then I think you get stickers. I don't know if you guys get stickers. No? Oh, not this year? Oh, unlucky. So let me see. I don't know if you guys can hear the audio, but well, you guys can hear it. There, whatever, like. Um, okay. Actually, I don't know why it's up. Hey guys, I think I broke it. But basically, I was gonna show you guys what the kit was supposed to look like. Oh, okay, wait. Okay. I don't know how the audio works though. Oh, there you go. That's it. So, you can, we're gonna hear a lot of like sounds tonight. So, yeah, that's basically it. You can, I think I was able to play like a basic like melody with it because, you know, it's very basic. But, the reason why this is possible is mainly because of the microcontroller. When I did it, I didn't use a microcontroller, because microcontroller, you can code specific frequencies, right? I didn't do that, so mine sounded really janky, like it really off tune and everything. So that's why he came and fixed it for me with the microcontroller. But other than that, yeah, this is the board you guys are gonna be making today. Any questions? No? Okay, I think I went way too fast, but let me see if they're right. Okay, so we're gonna do like these 3 tables first. Wait, any questions before you go? Okay, I'll be in there, so you know, tap me or something. You guys can help. Yeah, these 3 tables can go. This is liability form. This comes to any other type, you're going to black. So like liability forms, if you haven't done it, just have to have. Oh, I forgot to say, there's gonna be tweezers or like wire holders, so you guys could, instead of touching it, you could like use the wire holder, what are they called? They're not tweezers, pliers. You're gonna use you can use the pliers to like as your hand instead of like this. So okay, you guys can go. Have fun.